Hello, Duke Brander here, Master of the Laurel, and I want to show a brief method I like to use on making handmade rivets from wire. And this version is going to be one of the easier versions, which is to use heat to add a sphere onto the bottom of a piece of wire as if we were making a pin, for example, like the head of a pin, and then take and use that globe, that material, and form that into the head of a rivet. So first, a little bit about the tools I use. This is going to be using fine silver wire. This is 14 gauge wire. I like to buy stuff from Rio, but wherever you get your stuff, that's great. This is 0.62 to 0.64 inch diameter material. You have to have made a heading tool. See if you can see that first hole there? And that's the bottom of the hole. The side we're going to use to create that is that side. The particular hole there in question is drilled with a 0.070 inch diameter drill bit, and then I've added just a very slightest countersink on that side. On this side, it's a bigger countersink. You don't want too much of a countersink because then there's a kind of a step on the underneath side of the head of the rivet when you're done. I like a little bit of a step though, so that I don't have a sharp angle that kind of cuts into the rivet head and might cause a fatigue problem or issue. So there's the heading tool. I've made, using a finishing nail, a very small tool that basically is used if necessary once the head has been applied to that piece of wire, to go and turn that around, and you'll see this when I actually do it, but then to remove that rivet out of the heading tool. Got a piece of wire that I cut off from that coil I just showed. Some kind of diagonal wire snippers. This is a flush cut. They don't have to be flush cut, but one of my favorites is this flush cut. 8-ounce ball peen hammer. Doesn't have to be ball peen. I'm just using the flat side. A pair of pliers. This is going to be used to hold the wire when I do the melt to form the head of the rivet or on that wire, so that I don't burn my hands. A glove would work fine too, I suspect, or just a longer piece of wire. Make sure that you realize that the longer the piece of wire, the more of a heat sink it is, and the longer or harder it's going to be for your heat source to actually melt that wire. The torch that I'm going to use is my handy dandy MAP gas torch with my igniter on it, igniter head. That's it. There's that. This is very likely overkill, but when I tried to use my little Blazer butane torch with this wire that's about 8 inches long, it just was taking forever, and it didn't even get hot after a minute, or at least not, red or orange. So I was going to use something a little bit smaller, and tried it and didn't like the result. So I'm setting this aside. So now we get to the process. And so we're going to take the wire, got to hold it again so I don't burn myself. You always want to have safety glasses on. I just use my prescription glasses because that's what I do. But some kind of I wear safety glasses. It might be important also to use other PPEs. That's kind of on your own recognizance. So I have my wire and I have my torch. Got to turn on my torch. Holding it vertical, I'm going to heat up the bottom of that. See how it's already starting to get hot? Now, there's the head of that globe that just formed. You can see that. Try to wait till it focuses, maybe. I don't know. focus on itself. Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, there you go. And wire does get hot, so you have to let it cool down a little bit before you handle it if you don't have gloves on. And that's what we're going to do. Once that wire cools down, I can show you maybe a little bit better. Come on, get focused, darn thing. If I get out of the picture. Nope. A little better. So now I'm going to take that and cut the length of that wire shorter than this 1/2-inch square piece of cold rolled steel that I've turned into my heading tool. If you cut it too long, it'll compress on the backside and mush it out and cause many, many problems. If you want a longer rivet, you have to make a heading tool that has more thickness. And it always has to go all the way through on that heading tool because you need to be able to hammer it out from the opposite side. So here we go. So I've cut that pretty short. I'm now going to put it into the heading tool, and I have my anvil-like object here, piece of heat-treated steel, a block of that. Just back up the heading tool so that it. I'm using my hammer to start to create the head of that rivet, and maybe a little bit more, kind of going in a circle fashion. I will, in fact, use the ball peen side. I think earlier I said I wouldn't, and that was wrong. I will then use this side to make that head a little bit more softer and maybe a little bit wider, bigger in diameter. Gotta get my there we go, so you can see. Hopefully that's what we're looking for. So then we take the removal tool, turn over the heading tool, place removal tool into the back side of that heading tool, and we just hammer it out. There you go. And there's the rivet. Okay, so there's rivet. Now, another thing to bear in mind, that one, because I'm trying to do a video not paying attention to my hammer strokes, the center line of the shaft of that rivet is to one side of the head of the rivet, meaning it's not centered to the rivet head. So what causes that is when I'm striking, you want to make sure you strike straight down to get that started so that it creates that mushroom perpendicular, perfectly perpendicular to the length of that piece of wire. So there you go. That's a real quick and dirty way to make handmade rivets. I hope that helps, and if you have any questions, just add them to the comments on the video. Thanks.